right, so in this video, I'm talking about occultism versus science. So in actuality, occultism versus science is actually a misnomer because essentially the best occultists and the best scientists also understand that you must inevitably end up mixing the two. Because scientists are nihilists, they are physicalists, meaning that the only thing that they essentially put a belief system into is matter and physicality and the things that only physically manifest. But by definition, that thought process in its own rigidity, it's incorrect. Factually, it's incorrect. Because why is it that you are alive? Why is it that any of this stuff exists? What's the point of this stuff in the first place? To do what? To just physically exist as matter and that's it? Which is nihilistic, because in on itself, you're trying to say that there is no cause of this existence. This was all just one big mistake, because in essence, we're just a bundle of matter, cells, right? Everything is going through time and that's it. See, the thing is that what a lot of people don't seem to understand, and they have problems grasping. So let me go ahead and simplify it for you. Occult and mysticism is an alternative lifestyle and answer that science science does not understand. So if you are strictly a scientist, aka a physicalist, aka a nihilist, you're not going to begin to understand what mysticism is, because mysticism is what scientific research lacks. Scientific research is what mysticism lacks. Physical science or science is all things manifested physically. Occultism is pantheistic, meaning it's everything encompassed. It's holistic, because it is the cause to the effect that what science represents. Science represents the effect. Spirituality, real spirituality, and mysticism and the occult represents the cause of where the effect, aka science, is coming from. Everything manifested, everything, and even certain things that are unmanifested, is evidence that divinity exists. A lot of people have a hard time dealing with this. It's factual. Why am I saying this? Because we don't need a book to all grasp. Why is it that the blood in your bloodstream, in your veins, work? Why do red blood cells work? Why do they work in that way? What's to stop it, unfortunately, from stop working? What's to stop it from stop working? Why does your heart beat? Why? What is the point? What is the cause? What exactly is the point of its own existence and its functionality? Why? Spirituality has the answer to that. That science lacks. And like I said, all things manifested is divinity showing and proving itself to exist. And the things that are unmanifested is divinity trying to keep certain things secret from you. It is a teaser, so for you to basically get more involved into it, because you're supposed to get involved into both. There is no debate between science and mysticism. The people who try to do that type of stuff, they're completely missing the point. Either that, or they have shown you a form of bias, because you're supposed to blend the two, cause and effect. Cause being mysticism, effect being physical science. You can't have one without the other. That's the reason why it is that it's been shown that mysticism and the occultists and science has actually been known to cross tamper with each other a lot. It's because one is evidence of cause and the other is evidence of the effect. Spirituality didn't exist. Where does one come up with the idea of a bed that we're laying on? The walls that we're all sleeping in? Where does this idea, where does ideas come from? Where do thoughts come from? This is something that the scientists don't even seem to understand. I can show you the video if you want, where the scientists, with all of this that they think that they know, they still at this point do not know where thoughts come from. They can't exactly pinpoint it, but yet we all think. We all have thoughts. But yet the modern day scientists would love to relegate it or minimize it down to dendritic or tree-like, tree-like electrical systems going from the nervous system throughout the entire body. But again, where does that tree-like electrical systems come from? And why is the electricity in our body so important, and where exactly is it coming from? And why does that combination of chemistry and physical phenomena work that is conducive to life? Why does that combination work? See, a lot of times people end up getting it messed up because they have the false perception and the bias. They have the false perception and the bias, the mentality of, well, with all this mysticism stuff that you keep talking about, how is that going to pay my bills? How is that going to put food on the table? Easy work. Because remember what it is that I said about mysticism a few minutes ago. Mysticism is an alternative to being a physicalist or being a mundane nihilist. It is a remedy to that. Meaning what? Meaning that being an occultist or someone who's getting into mysticism gives you an alternative way of thought, a more creative way of thought, to actually be able to get to the things that you want. Not only that too, but getting into mysticism actually creates or sets the table for some of the things that you want to come your way without you having to constantly be the one to go get it. So sometimes you have to be the one to go get it. And sometimes some of those things actually come to you, ironically. So people keep wanting to know. People are so afraid. Well, how is this mumbo jumbo crap going to really put food on my table and pay the bills? Maybe you should get into some of this stuff to get you to free your mind up so you can actually start coming up with those answers. That's why it is that when I meet individuals or I interact with individuals who don't necessarily want to, unfortunately come out of their pocket or whatever, even though they want certain answers. It's completely oxymoronic. And I'm not trying to insult anyone. I'm not insulting anyone. What I'm saying is that the concept, the actual act of being biased against mysticism is actually oxymoronic in on itself, because you want an alternative answer to to a physicalist. You want an alternative answer to just mere science. You want something, you want a more creative way to be able to figure out how to solve your problems. And I am assisting you in doing that. But you're too closed-minded at the point in time for you to actually be able to come up with the answer. And the way that spirituality and mysticism manifests itself does not necessarily always have to be physical. Remember, as I told you a few minutes ago, sometimes the answer to your problems can manifest immediately. Sometimes it can manifest down the road. This is the reason why it is that your average occultist can be just as intelligent and have a full-blown PhD level of understanding the way that a person who received a doctorate can. And I know this for a fact, because how do I come up with all of my answers to the things that I do? How do I come up with the answers to the tarot cards? Studying the tarot cards will only bring you so far. Yes, it will give you a certain amount of knowledge, but you also have to understand that that is divine's way of showing you that you have two systems. You can worship it, or you can get to know it. There's a difference. You can worship it, but if you worship it, you will not actually get a chance to become it, step into it. If you step into it, you have a knowledge of, notice how I'm smiling. If you step into it, you have a knowledge of understanding it as well as being it internally, from the inside joke, if you know what I mean, as well as also having an understanding on the outside as well. So people want to know how to solve the problems, how to solve their problems. How is that going to put food on my table? Well, study mysticism and you'll have an answer. You'll have an alternative answer. Study science and you'll have an answer. Bring the both of them together. Stop being so biased to one thing. What did Bruce Lee tell you? And Bruce Lee was a dark magician. But what was Bruce Lee talking about when Bruce Lee was talking about be formless and shapeless like water? Well, what mystically speaking, what is a mystical principle that talks about being formless? Well, the top of the tree of Kether, that talks about the top of the tree, top of the Kabbalistic tree is named Kether. That talks about being formless. But the top of the tree, aka Kether, at the top of the Kabbalistic tree is called what? The divine. And then there's even stages beyond that. So you telling me that there's stages beyond the divine? Yes. You want to be able to know how I became so at peace with certain things? How my YouTube channel started to pop up? Why is certain things that are working, clicking for me? Go and pick up the book, Clipothic Magick for the brave. Get into mysticism. Get into science also. It's available on Amazon.